All right, Matt, man, we appreciate the time. Obviously, we know you are a busy man, got a lot going on, just a small little thing going on in your life right now. But let's start off with what you mean to the city. And I'll start off with a pretty cool story. I'm sure you've heard it. I'm sure Sarah's told you about it. But there was a dad by the name of Carlos Whitaker. He showed his daughter a tribute video the Falcons made of you, and she was crying because all she knew was Matt Ryan, and it broke her down that you were leaving. What does it mean when you get to see a video like that of somebody who is emotionally invested in you like that?
Yeah, it's crazy. You know, I appreciate so much the support that I've received during my time here, and it's become home for Sarah and myself. Our life is here. We grew as a couple. We have kids. We're raising kids. We're doing all that stuff. We've come a long way since we were sitting in the locker room together, in both of our lives. But I've been here for so long and just received so much support. So when you see it, from their perspective, it hits you, and I'm so thankful though. I kind of, in the letter I wrote, thanking Atlanta, we talked a lot about how there's change in life, but the one thing that won't change is the last 14 years and how I feel about this city. And I'm so thankful for all the fans' support and the love that we've received while we've been here.
I know you're not oblivious to social media. Obviously, that's a big part of our world, your world as well. But when you look at social media, you see, some people are excited. Some people are mad. Some people are like, yeah, we're glad he's gone. But then there's a majority of the people that are like, we're going to miss this guy. When you think about the fans in Atlanta, what are some of the things that, you kind of reminisce about and say, man, I'm going to miss this fan base a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, just the support you receive, how respectful people are. When I go around town, they let me live my life, and we have a normal life. And I've got young kids, a wife, and we like to be active and out and about and a part of it. I'm appreciative of that. I think one of the coolest experiences I ever had was the last game in the Dome, in the NFC Championship game, and we're up in the fourth quarter and we're going to win this game. We're going to the Super Bowl. And in between series, kind of during that TV timeout, the entire building is chanting MVP and screaming. And I'm getting chills talking about it right now, but I will never forget that.
Yeah.
And that was one of the coolest moments of my entire life. You can't recreate that feeling. And those people, those fans, gave it to me. And I'm forever grateful and thankful. I think back to my first pass, running down there, touchdown pass. I'm coming to the side, Comet Sink. I'm screaming, yelling, celebrating with you guys on the sideline, dead tired.
I don't even know if you remember this, but I remember you came to the sideline, and after everybody's beating you up, we sit down just like this, and you like, what just happened? Because it was just so crazy the first play of the game. And
no doubt. And I was thinking we would work the other side, just throw a flat route and get moving. Next thing you know, Mike Jenkins kind of slips behind and runs in. So it was, I feel a lot like that right now. I'm sitting here 14 years later, and I'm like, what just happened?
Yeah.
It was an incredible ride, and it goes in the blink of an eye.
First pass, last pass, touchdowns.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
Wild.
Obviously, Arthur Blank was a big part of you being here. You guys have had just a great relationship. What has Arthur Blank meant to you? And, I mean, he came out the other day and said, yeah, he's going to absolutely be in our Ring of Honor. What does he mean? And also having the opportunity to say one day my name and number will be in the rafters.
Well, it's special, and I'm honored. The time I spent here is incredible. Arthur's meant a ton to me and my family, and I'm thankful for the opportunity that he gave me in 2008 and for his continued confidence for 14 years. That's a long time. And I always felt that support and love, and my destination of playing has changed, but the relationship that I have with him will always be strong. Right. And he knows I'm a phone call away. I know he's a phone call away, or a text or an email, and I'm very fortunate to be in that position.
All right, let's get into the situation at hand, where obviously there was a lot of stuff going on. On the outside, everybody, they came to you and said, hey, we're thinking about going in a different direction. We're looking at another guy. Emotionally, how did you take that situation of them coming to you and saying, this is what's going on? Where did your mind go during those first couple of days?
Yeah, I think there's disappointment at first, you know, and you're like, all right, well, what? You know, like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? And so, you know, it hurts when you've been so committed to something for so long, and for 14 years, every day you wake up, you know, you're 100% all in, through the ups, through the downs, through the highs, through the lows, through the different players, different coaches, different GMs, different scouts, different trainers, different strength and conditioning coaches. I mean, all of that stuff changed daily, but I was, you know, tried to be 100% committed to every one of those people in that organization to try and help, you know, make it successful. And then they tell you they're looking at something else. You know, it's not easy to hear, but I also understand, you know, I've been fortunate that that was the first time in my career that ever happened, you know, and most guys deal with that day to day in the locker room, and you have to be empathetic to that. And so while, you know, I was disappointed, I also said, you know, I get that, and I've got to take a look around and see what makes most sense for me, regardless of how this situation shakes out, what makes the most sense for me moving forward. And I appreciate them allowing me to do that, and then ultimately making the decision that I wanted to move on.
What was that part of the process like for you to be able to go through, okay, is this the right team for me? Was it always Indy? Was it always somebody else? Were there other teams you were talking to? What was that process like for you after you determined, okay, this is the direction I want my career to go into?
Yeah, I think immediately I said I need to assess all of the options. You know, what's out there? What are the possible landing spots? And worked with, you know, the people that I trust to talk about the different landing spots. And, you know, as we continued to look around and talk and go through that, the one constant was we felt like Indianapolis was, you know, a spot that has built a really strong roster and has an opportunity to win. Nothing is given. You know, everything we need to do as Colts moving forward needs to be earned, and we got to work really hard to do that. But I think, you know, Chris Ballard, the GM there, and Frank Wright, the head coach, have done a great job of building it the way that they see it, and putting, you know, a lot of good pieces, you know, in that team and allowing them to have a chance.
Was there a text or a call that you got during this time that kind of stuck out to you more than any, or maybe it was a congratulations from somebody you haven't talked to in a long time that, you know, you look back and say, wow, this is a crazy process. Like you said, you haven't gone through this process. So
yeah.
What was it like going through it and then hearing from the outside? Did you get any advice from guys that obviously has been through this before?
Yeah. I was overwhelmed with the number of texts.
How many texts you had?
I think I've got like 88 that are unread right now.
Man.
And that's with a lot of them trying to fire back. And, you know, it's amazing when stuff like this happens so fast and news breaks at a certain time, everybody texts at the same time. So it's like,
yeah.
And then, you know, you meet people in a new organization and everything starts firing off on that timeline too. And so I'm slowly trying to get back, but please, anybody, if I haven't gotten back to you yet, I'm trying. It may not happen, but I appreciate you reaching out. But I did have the opportunity to talk to a few people who have gone through that transition and what it looks like, how you go about things, the energy that you start to feel. I also talked to a lot of people that I had formerly worked with, and just leaned on them and said, hey, what do you think? You know, what are your thoughts? And I'm thankful to you know, for those people and to have had those conversations. They certainly helped.
You talk about some of the guys that you've talked to, of guys who've reached out to you. Obviously, Julio is a big name. Everybody loves Julio in the city. You have had some of your most memorable moments with Julio. Your current teammate now, Darius Lynn, actually tweeted about, hey, Julio, we got your old quarterback. You want to come back to – has there been any conversation with your man, who?
Just text messages after the trade went down. And so I love him. You know, he knows that. And, man, he was fun to play with there, no question. You know, I enjoyed the 10 years we had together and throwing it up and watching him make plays. But, you know, we'll see what shakes out moving forward. But, you know, I also wish him the best with whatever direction he heads heading forward.
All right, take me through – kind of give the fans a little insight into how it goes when, all right, the deal's done, you're traded to Indy, and we see the video, you're getting off the plane. Just take us through of how you deal with talking to your sons about it.
Yeah.
Now they got to root for a different team. All they know is Falcons. Now they got on blue. They got a new mascot to have fun with. What was that experience like?
Well, luckily they're at that age where if you give them gifts, they become loyal to whoever's giving them gifts. And it was, I think a little confusing for them at the start because, we talk about it all the time at home. We're loyal, right? And so all in, and they are all in on Falcons, and kind of explaining them, that we all might be, pulling for a different organization moving forward. It was a little confusing, but the Colts did a great job of making them feel welcome really quick. They had jerseys ready for them in the morning. We flew up on Tuesday. The mascot, Blue, up there, my kids loved him. So thank God for that guy. He was so good. I think he played with those kids for like 6 or 8 hours straight, and they were worn out by the time we came home. There's no question about it. But I owe that guy a beer or a dinner or something like that when I get up there because he did us a solid. But it was, we got there. We got to meet everybody. It's an overwhelming day. I'm trying. All of us are trying to kind of come back down to earth and get back, settled and figure out what we need to do next to move forward.
How great was it? I won't say great, but how did you feel though the organization treated you throughout this process? Because obviously there were a lot of going back and forth about did they communicate with Matt? Did they tell him that they were doing this? But also the fact that they sent you to a place that's actually pretty good. I mean, what was that like to be able to have that opportunity to be able to say, yeah, they're going to do that for me?
Yeah, I think they're not easy conversations. They're not fun conversations. But it's like family. You know what I mean? You sometimes have things you disagree on.
Right.
But you got to get it out there. Ultimately, I think we got to the place we needed to get to. And it took some time. And, there's frustrations, there's disappointments, there's but that's how the process goes.
Right.
That's how it works when you're making a transition like this. And I'm just thankful for the professionalism they showed me and ultimately, working with me. And I appreciate everybody in the building for that.
Now, I heard you say, I don't feel like an old man. I still feel like I got tons of ball left. How many more years can Matthew Thomas Ryan play?
Well, only if you call me that, and you've been calling me that forever. So I feel good. I really do, and I think there's a lot of things that factor into that. Number one, I think learning to train, learning what you need, learning sleep, diet, all those things. I've gotten better with that throughout my career. I think that helps. I think the rule changes, honestly, have made a big difference, and you see, whether it's a Tom or how long Drew Brees played, or Aaron Rodgers still playing at a high. I think those changes have really helped guys extend their careers, and so I feel great. I want to play as long as I feel great, and I'm excited every day to get up and go. And I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know exactly how that's going to shake out, but it still feels like there's a lot more in there.
Yeah, we were joking before we started that you've been there 14 years, and remember this Philly kid coming in, scrawny kid coming in now. He's a Southern guy. Indy's a little bit colder. I know your falls will be a little bit different, but will Atlanta always be your home?
Yeah, I think so. We're so committed to this community. We built a home here. We're happy to be living here. People are so nice. We have so many friends. We've also become entrenched in trying to make it a better place, and started our ATL initiative in 2020 to help Black youth in the city with after-school programs and opportunistic opportunities for them. To me, that part's never going to change, and that passion's never going to change. And while I may play football in a different location and have another place that I love, the 14 years and the commitment we've made to this community is never going to waver. And I'm excited about that, and excited to always be a part of this community.
Talk about this community and a lot of things that you've had the opportunity to be a part of here. But what are some of the things you're going to miss about the city? Obviously, you got great restaurants. I know you love golf, but what's some of the things that you're going to miss about this city? And obviously, there's a routine during the season you have, one out of season. Like, what are some of the things you're going to miss?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the people. The city itself, I'll be able to be back here enough, and get my fix of restaurants and golf and, baseball games or Hawks games, whatever it is, right? Be able to enjoy all of that. But to me, I think the biggest thing I'm going to miss is the day-to-day interactions that you have. For me at the building, up at Flowery Branch, it's the behind-the-scenes people. The coaching staff, I love the coaching staff there, but I'd only been with them a year. Equipment managers like Brian Boigner, Jimmy Hay, Kenny Asua. I mean, those guys, I've been with them for a long time. Boigs and Jimmy, 14 years. I think Kenny, maybe 12. They're family to me, and they're family to my kids. Like they call Kenny Uncle Kenny because he brings the Jordans for them. He's on that Nike Elite and brings the Jordans for them, and so. They love him. They love those guys. They've been so good to him. So that's mostly what I'm going to miss about my day-to-day is the relationships that I have with the people in that building.
On the field, I mean, this is probably a tough question because you've had a bunch of these great memories that would happen. What are some of the things that you remember the most about your time playing here in Atlanta? I mean, you got a most memorable game. You got a memorable play. I mean, I'm sure there's tons that you can look at, but I'm sure there are a few that come to mind.
Yeah. I think of the first pass, for sure. I think back to how that felt sitting next to you and Red on the bench, being like, "What are we doing? What are we doing?" I think back to that rookie year. I think of you catch Mike Jenkins had on the sideline versus the Bears, field goal we hit. I remember winning up in Minnesota to clinch a playoff berth, and we're all celebrating in the locker room. I remember that. I also remember you threw like 80 yards in warm-ups.
Taking Red money. Yeah.
Took Red's money in warm-ups. And then I think about, winning that Seattle playoff game. For me, it was the first time winning a playoff game and getting that opportunity to play in the NFC Championship. The way we came back, Tony Gonzalez winning that first playoff game for him after playing, that long. And, I think of Roddy, doing cartwheels in the end zone and like just his smile and laugh and those things. I think of, like Julio's back shoulder catch in the NFC Championship game right before halftime and then right after half coming out and catching a drift route and taking it to the house. Those are the things that pop into my head. Celebrating in New Orleans when you beat them down there is always a good thing too, right? And so that'll never change for me, and those are the kind of things, I look back on and think about, and I'm so excited to remember those things.
Obviously, you're moving on to a different place with a bunch of different guys, different players, but from the team you're leaving, who are a couple of guys that you're really excited about to see where their future goes?
I mean, Kyle Pitts, to me, part of the bittersweetness is like, man, I really like playing with him, and how, how I think he can develop into one of the very best in this league. So, I'm always going to be a fan of his and always enjoy watching him play. And, I think of other guys. I miss Grady, just the professional he was. The professional he is, but for me to play with, excuse me, I'm going to miss him. And, there's other guys, Jake Matthews. I played with Jake for a long time, and the professionalism he shows up with every day. I mean, it's impressive to see. I'm missing a bunch. I'm going to miss all those guys in that locker room, but those are three that definitely stand out.
The players you're going to play with now, the guys that you're just starting to get used to. I mean, you've been a Colt, 48 hours now? I mean, have any of those guys reached out to you? Obviously, Jonathan Taylor's a exceptional talent. They got a lot of good players on that defense. I mean, has any of those guys reached out and welcomed you to Indy? Like, all right, now you're our guy.
Yeah, they have, and that's meant a lot to me. I was when the trade went through, I was texting with the GM of the Colts, Chris Ballard, and I was talking with him about getting names to start reaching out to guys. And he said, and start sending them over. And I'm like, I had to still fill out some paperwork for this trade to go through. So I'm filling out this paperwork, and it takes like a half hour, 45 minutes, and then I'm going to get started on starting to reach out. And when I opened up my phone, I had about 20 text messages from guys on the team. And that was cool. And, I'm excited. You miss that group that you're with, but I'm excited to start, going to battle with this new group and trying to become part of what they've built up there.
What's next? Obviously, the trade happened, the big news. When do you start to get entrenched in what's going on up there?
Yeah, we've got to catch our breath a little bit. You know, Sarah and I have been on the go, and I think both of us are just like, I'm tired.
Yeah.
You know, soon. You know, soon. I've got a lot of work to do. You know, and need to try and get on the same page with coaches, players, all those things as quickly as possible. Got to figure out, you know, living and all these different things that, you know, are fun things to have to deal with, but things you have to deal with nonetheless. And so, you know, it starts soon, but I think we're going to take this weekend and just try and just try and shut it down and relax, you know, and chill out.
How do you, I mean, a lot of people who have played the game, but then also people who have not, would love to know, how do you get yourself entrenched into a new place, especially when you've been here for 14 years, when new players come in, they know, all right, Matt Ryan's the leader. He's the guy that, you know, you got to go through in this locker room. How do you go about that in a new locker room with a whole new team now, even though you got the experience of a guy who's been around for a while?
Yeah, it's something I'm going to have to navigate as I go through it.
Yeah.
You know, I think just being yourself, I've always thought that with new players coming in. Like, don't try to be somebody you are not.
Yeah.
Just be yourself, man.
Right.
I can get along with that. If you care about football, if you care about winning, whatever personality types there are, we'll get along just fine.
Yeah.
And, you know, so that's it, is going in and letting them know who I am and what I'm about, and just trying to be the same person every day. I think a lot of people, for whatever reason, I'm a private person, but I think a lot of people's public perception of who I am is much different than the day-to-day, you know, of what I'm like day-to-day. And so it's letting those guys know, this is who I am. Right. This is how I do. I like to have fun, but when it's time to work, it's time to work. And we're going to put in that work. And so I'm looking forward to that, looking forward to getting to know that new crew.
All right, Matt, last thing I got for you, man. Obviously, 14 years is a long time to be at a place. What parting words would you give to the city of Atlanta? Obviously, you're not, you know, not dying or anything. You're not going away, but obviously this fan base has meant a lot, but also you're going to a different place. As a guy who's been here and been entrenched in the community and a part of this team, any final words for the fans, the city, the people that practically they love you?
Yeah, I think it's not goodbye, it's thank you.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying goodbye. I have to move on in my football life, but I still have, you know, the love and appreciation for everything. You know, I wrote a letter in the AJC and said that there's been a lot of change in my life in the last week or so, and I know that's the one constant. But the thing that won't change is the experience that I had while I was here and the love that I felt from everybody in this city, through the ups, through the downs. And the shared frustrations we had too. Like, I get it, man. Like, people, like, trust me, you know, I get the frustrations that we had too. And you know, we kind of all went through that together, and I'm thankful for that. And also, you know I'm always going to be committed to trying to make this city the place it can be, you know, and at the forefront of in my opinion, the change we need to see in our country. And so I'll never lose that. And I'm excited to, you know, try and make this place a better, better for my kids' generation than it is for us right now. And I hope I instill in them to try and continue to do that and do that. So thank you. I'll miss you guys, but I'll be around plenty. So they'll see me around town.
Well, Matt, I want to tell you, man, obviously we've been good friends for a while, knowing you since you first came in, and I appreciate you answering one of the 125 text messages you had, but super proud for you, bro.
Thank you.
Obviously, I told you that through text, and I appreciate you getting back to me about it, but I'm excited for where you're going and glad you got the opportunity to do it, bro. So good luck, and
appreciate you, man.
Go crush it, baby.
Love you, Shock.
Love you, bro.